It is tense in Chicago. I'm just home from a day there. I went for the Cubs game, but you can sense in people you talk to on the street and the way that city is reacting that the effort by the Trump administration to crack down on illegal immigration, unlawful migrants there is taking its toll. And now the troops from the National Guard of Texas coming into town. Tensions are very high. And so I wanted to talk about that with someone who knows a lot about it. We're really happy to have Congresswoman Delia Ramirez. She represents on Chicago's northwest side a lot of migrants there, a lot of immigrants, including her family. Her parents came to this country illegally at the time. They crossed the Rio Grande. Her mom was pregnant with her at that time, and her own husband is a dreamer. Delia Ramirez lives these issues. She serves the constituents of the northwest side of Chicago with a passionate understanding of where they're coming, what their life experiences are. And she's got a lot to say about what the Trump administration is doing and about what people can do in response. We also wanted to make sure that while we were talking with Congresswoman Ramirez, we got a chance to talk about the shutdown, the government shutdown. She's right at the center of that as well. If you enjoy this conversation and the other interviews and the other work we're doing here, please like and subscribe. You'll be doing us a favor, and we hope yourself a favor as well. So without further ado, here's our conversation with Congresswoman Delia Ramirez. Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, thank you very much for being with us. Great to see you.
Great to be on, Terry.
So, you're on with us at this tough time for your city, for the city I was born in. Chicago it feels like under a kind of siege almost. I was up in Wrigleyville yesterday for the Cubs game. Obviously, not a lot of activity around there, but people I talk to, they're upset about it.
Yeah.
You represent really ground zero of what this administration is doing there. Tell me about how it's going.
I mean, in so many ways, as you were even saying or explaining it, right? I'm getting the images of what we've been experiencing here, especially in the last few weeks. You have rogue ICE agents, most of them with their face completely covered, with only eyes to be seen. And enough to see in those eyes this determination to do anything and everything to create chaos and bring fear to our communities. In many ways, Terry, people feel like we're invaded and we are living through a war created by our very own government. People are worried and scared about going to the grocery store, dropping off their kids at school, or driving while brown. I mean, just think about that. The Supreme Court has given the president the authority to stop people based on the color of their skin, physical appearance, or if in fact there is a call to question about their income. Right? It's just physical appearance, socioeconomic status, and location. And so for people in my district, that's most of them.
And that's where we are. And I want to pick up on a couple of things that you said there. First, this sense that you're living in a war zone. As I say, I was only a couple of miles from there. Different parts of every city are very, very different. But what would you say to people who are like, this is a law enforcement operation. Okay, you don't like it politically, but come on, it's not that.
It's not a law enforcement operation. It's an operation of terror, cruelty, and chaos created by an agency that's out of control. That's what's happening here. I just had a conversation, Terry, with the Home Depot. They said, well, we can't stop law enforcement from coming into our store. First of all, you're a private business. You can deny entry to anyone. You say this all the time. You certainly have denied entry to people that look like me. Number two, it's not about law enforcement. These agents are not trained, Terry. I talked to police officers in Chicago who said to me, Congresswoman, if I did 1/10 of what these agents are doing, I would not just be suspended, I would be in jail. They are not trained. And it's this rage and brutality and savageness to their madness, Terry, that's the scariest part of it. Grabbing people, women, young women, older women, the tamale lady, right? So, someone who's just trying to make a living, shoving them to the ground while handcuffing them, calling them names. and saying to them, I am a member of ICE and I can do whatever the hell I want. That is what our city is experiencing. And Terry, frankly, Chicago is still a segregated city. You were in Wrigley, and perhaps the people there and visiting the city did not feel that pressure. But if you're driving down Milwaukee Avenue to get to Wrigley, you will have seen the agents on Milwaukee and Belmont and other parts of the city. My community. I am walking out to take my dogs out and to see these black helicopters just roaming around my neighborhood, my own home, right? It really feels like you are in a war zone established by the very same person that took an oath to protect the people in this country.
Mm. I want to pick up on how you twice now have described ICE agents, and we've heard this from others as well. This sense of license, right? This sense that there are no real boundaries on what they can do. We spoke the other day with Alderperson Jesse Fuentes, who was handcuffed and arrested for doing nothing more than asking if those ICE agents in the hospital had a signed judicial warrant. And I wonder if you think this is deliberate. Is this coming from the top down, or are these bad hires? Or they're hiring so many people they're just getting goons? Or is goonishness the order of the day?
Goonishness is the order of the day. They know that they are emboldened to treat people as less than human. And when called to question whether it's Kristi Noem or Tom Homan or the other leadership staff, Trisha and others within ICE, they lie about it. They deny what we are seeing before our eyes, what we have in footage. They create and fabricate their own story of what is happening. But camera footage doesn't lie. And you hear from the members themselves saying, I am a member of Homeland Security. I can do whatever the hell I want. Now, Terry, these are agents that have not been trained. I mean, I've been asking for weeks to have the secretary come before our committee and tell us, how are you determining who you're hiring? How are you screening through? What kind of training are you providing them? And what kind of accountability is there when one of your agents violates the Constitution, exerts police brutality, like actual brutality against people, and are doing illegal stops and raids? We have not had leadership within the committee believe that it is an important priority to come to bring the secretary or any of the people responsible for these agents to oversight and for questioning. It's disgusting, Terry. It's despicable. It's why I just recently, in the last committee hearing we had, it was an oversight subcommittee. And the subject of the day was China and marijuana. And while some may have been really anxious to hear from the Heritage Foundation, the authors of Project 2025, who were the witnesses there, I took my 5 minutes in that subcommittee to show the people in that committee, my colleagues, my Republican colleagues that are unwilling to accept or look at what's happening around the country, as well as the 50, 60 people that were in the audience, footage of ICE killing a father in broad daylight and then lying about it. Footage of a little 12-year-old girl with her 10-year-old brother being questioned by masked agents as they have just taken their mother, their father, and their older brother. And I asked them, do you think that is acceptable? Does that look legal to you? So, Terry, it is mind-blowing. They stood quiet, and some of them attempted to look down, and then got very flustered when I moved to subpoena Kristi Noem to come before our committee to answer questions. This is the reality of this moment, but we have to force them to see it.
And having forced them to see it, the reaction that you just described, it sounds like they know it. They feel what any decent person feels when they see these things. The poll numbers, while they support maybe the policy, there are enough decent Americans on both sides that are really horrified by this. And it sounds like those guys on that committee, the men and women on that committee, might have felt that, but like every Republican in power right now, they've given up their consciences, or
they're complicit, Terry. They're complicit, truly. And here's the thing. While some Americans might be okay with a policy, let's be clear what policy we're talking about. It's the policy that he promised, that he was going to deport these dangerous criminals, he called, from American soil. What you find that is happening with more than 90% of these cases, these are everyday people, my neighbors, your neighbors, who have been in this country in some cases for 35, 40 years, who put kids through college, who are just trying to live. This is a man that could be my uncle or my father on his way to Home Depot to pick up a new doorknob to fix his house, who is trampled on, beat, and abducted. The footage of seeing two women my age crying at a Home Depot parking lot because their father, who's 67 years old, just went to go pick up a doorknob and never came home. Think about that, Terry. And so it's important, I think. The one thing that maybe Donald Trump looks at, and certainly we know really is effective in changing policy, in changing course, it's public opinion. People are watching before their eyes. Cities like Chicago, Oregon, New York, LA, cities who have sent so much back to the federal government, right? Like $6 to every dollar we get in federal funds. These cities, these beloved cities that people love to come and enjoy, absolutely invaded by a force of terror.
And really, the justification is what? Is crime? He claims it's crime sometimes. Sometimes he claims it's the cities are overrun by people there unlawfully. But do you think there's an ulterior motive by bringing the hammer down, bringing the troops into a city like Chicago or Los Angeles or Portland or whomever's next?
It's to break us into submission. It is, look, Chicago has been at the epicenter of organizing. It's been a model of union organizing, community organizing, of bringing people together. We represent 77 neighborhoods in one city. This has been a city that has been successful. So much of its success has been because of its diversity in its elected officials, in its restaurants, in its communities, the fabric, right, of diversity that's made this one of the most beautiful cities in the world. But this president, what he sees is an opportunity to create such chaos that it would bend people into submission, that would silence dissent. This is the city that has had 100,000 people out on the streets protesting injustices, whether it is the killing of a young black man or the killing of immigrants or the killing of a trans youth. This is exactly what he wants. He wants to target cities who will be dissenting and who will be defending against fascism. That's the bottom line for him. And he wants to create productions, these movies, these short clips that look like some terror Halloween movie, where he is using human people as an example of how he can break the American spirit. It's awful, Terry. I mean, so many of us are not sleeping at night wondering, will tomorrow be the day that one of our loved ones, regardless of their status, because what I think is important for your viewers to know is this doesn't matter if you are an immigrant, undocumented, or you have a passport. He is targeting two sets of people. Yes, people of color that may look Latino, regardless if you are a citizen or not, and any person who dares to defend and ask about constitutional rights. And that could be a young white woman, a young white man, a black man. You've seen the number of citizens arrested in this city for daring to exercise freedom of speech.
Could be a reporter. I mean,
And it has been.
yeah.
Or it could be a pastor.
Yes.
You saw the images of this Presbyterian pastor with a collar, getting tear gas, the rubber bullets. I mean, it's just awful. The faith community is not safe.
And which is shocking given the Republican position, which is very, very pro free exercise of religion in this country
Hypocrisy.
until they get in the way of ICE. But you put your finger on what seems to be the plan here. You go to a city controlled by Democrats, you bring the hammer down, try to round up people who are in the city unlawfully, in the country unlawfully, I should say, and then you get that reaction. You get that reaction, which really then allows you to bring the hammer down with the troops and subdue the city. It looks like that's the plan.
That is the plan. And look, we're talking about one of the most successful, financially successful cities in the nation, the fifth largest GDP in the country, among the top 25 in the world. And when you have the military, when you have National Guard or federal agents marching down the streets of downtown Chicago, this is for the whole world to see his show, but his show of force and fear against a city that he has a hotel in, that he has benefited and profited from personally. I mean, I need people to understand. I say this often, Terry. Fascism always requires a public enemy. We have seen this in history before. We have read about it. I read about it in the 7th grade. First, they come for the immigrants or the trans youth, and next, they come for anyone and everyone who dares to confront fascism. And so no one's safe.
And no one is safe. You say that with passion and conviction, and as I understand it, a personal stake in this. We all have a personal stake in this, but you have family stake in this, right?
I do.
If I've got it right, your husband's undocumented.
My husband is a green card holder. Let me just clarify that, because I know that a lot of these trolls attempt to continue to encourage Homeland to target my husband. I mean, this is the world that we're living. Political retribution, retaliation, and threatening of lives because of the moment. But he's a green card holder, so he has authorization. He was a dreamer. But he was a dreamer up until a couple months ago. Yes.
Right. But so he's got that, and he's safe now. But people like him.
Maybe, Terry. Maybe.
Maybe that's the thing, right? With very little pretext, they'll rip that away from it. It seems there's a risk if they don't like what you're saying.
That's exactly right. I mean, the fact that so many green card holders, so green card holders are people who have been in this country, gone through a very extensive process, and then got their permanent authorization to be a legal resident of this country. And after a certain time, they're eligible to become citizens, right? People who have green cards right now are asking themselves, will one post, one solidarity moment, a recording of what's happening, a call to question, or driving or dropping off my child, will that revoke my green card status? Terry, no country can be successful and respected and admired when its own people have to live in constant fear. The number of constituents, Terry, that call me who are United States citizens, whether they're 67 years old and born here, or 22 years old and born here, or naturalized, who ask me, Congresswoman, is there a way for me to get a second passport? Because now I'm walking with my passport to prove that I'm a citizen, but if I lose it, will ICE abduct me, send me to Texas or Uganda? That is what people are asking right now. United States citizens are asking in the city in this moment.
And if I could ask you this, in a kind of out of the blue maybe, but your story is such an all-American story, right?
It
Your
is.
parents came here, they sacrificed for you. Here you are in the United States Congress. It's the kind of story that once made all of us proud and happy to be Americans, and probably still should. But it does this. Do you feel less patriotic at this moment because of what's happening?
No, I feel a higher sense of urgency, Terry, to be able to exercise my pride for this country by defending the democracy that we have been so proud of, that we have bragged about to other countries. To me, it's so important for people to understand that my American story is not that different from a Marjorie Taylor Greene story in terms of immigrant story. I mean, Terry, we all have an immigrant story, whether it was in the 1800s, the early 1900s, or in my case, my parents in the early 1980s. But the reality is that we are living a moment where we are proudly saying that quiet part out loud, that if you look a particular way, we do not think you're American enough. And that's what they did to Italians in this country in the late 1800s. We've seen this in New York. We saw this all over. The history continues to play out. And if we don't know our history, we're bound to repeat it. And so that's why I tell my colleagues, and Terry, in Committee of Homeland, I serve in Homeland Security. I tell many of my colleagues there who are of Italian descent, who are Irish descent, who are of Cuban descent, don't forget your own roots and what makes you an American. How do you turn your back on the very same people that could have been your grandparents 50, 100 years ago?
That's a great
And of
point.
course, they don't love to hear that, Terry.
No,
But
it
we
makes
have to remember where we come from.
at some point, people's hearts will open up again. I have confidence that I pray for that. But let me ask you one more question as long as we have you here. The shutdown. How long and what's going to be the result at the end of the day? People are suffering.
People are suffering, and people were suffering before the shutdown as well. I'll tell you, Terry, I think that we have reached a turning point where more and more of constituents of my own colleagues on the other side of the aisle are asking people, what the heck, asking their members of Congress, what the heck is going on? And why don't you think that my health care is worth protecting, preserving, or expanding? Look, I was in a conversation with Senator Schumer, Leader Schumer, earlier today, right, about the importance of holding the line for the American people in this precise moment. At any moment, Johnson can call us back to session. It is an embarrassment that he canceled session this week for two reasons: to do as he's told by Donald Trump, and to prevent a member of Congress from being sworn in so that she not become the 218 signature necessary to release the Epstein files. He is willing to inflict the most pain on veterans, on elderly, on the children of this country in order to protect a file in which may have the president. He is willing to allow insurance premiums to double or quadruple in some cases in order to do as he's told. It is an abomination, Terry, that we are here. But I will say to you that Democrats are united. Democrats continue to ask, if you control the House, you control the Senate and the White House, and you brag about your relationship to the Supreme Court, you are in control. Restore the government. Make sure that we extend the ACA tax credits, and let's pass a spending budget that honors the responsibilities that we have in protecting the American people.
And the polls show right now, it looks like people are, they see the reason in what the Democrats are saying. It sure seems that way.
And they have to stop using federal workers as pawns as well. I mean, by the way, Terry, federal workers, 30% of them, veterans. You can't say you care about veterans and then use them as a pawn and then threaten not to pay them, but say you care about veterans. Which one is it? Hypocrisy seems to be roaming free in those halls of Congress, more usual these days than before.
Well, and that's saying something because it's no stranger to the halls of Congress.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, thank you so much for being with us. It was a great conversation. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Terry.